Hi everybody, welcome to this first AWA virtual forum. Really excited about the panelists we have and the speakers we have today. These forums will happen every 3 to 4 months and they will feature different speakers. I'm Grant Gamble and I'm just one of the team members in the AWA group. AWA is a group of consultants and leading experts in the fitness, wellness and business industry or industries. The gathering here today ranges from East Coast US, West Coast US, China, Canada and Australia. So we've got like quite the global panel here. And if you have any questions during the session, you can raise your hand, but be preferable if we can keep it towards the end, just to keep the thing rolling. Each of us will only do 10 or 12 minutes in terms of our presentations, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end. And hopefully you can ask questions of any of the panelists. And I'll do just a quick round robin here of the panelists. Yana Gamble, creative branding aficionado. Pele Ramdani, legend in the industry, fitness industry, worked with many of the largest club groups internationally. He's consulting and helping clubs with culture, leadership, growth. Mel Tempest probably doesn't need any introduction for most people here and the US. Mel's group exercise icon. She's also a phenomenal speaker, very motivational and inspirational, but she also is a club operator, and most of these people in this group have operated clubs, owned clubs, and been in clubs. And so, in fact, I'm not sure there's anybody here that isn't in that category. So we're really bringing people to the table that know what they're talking about, that have lived the experience you're experiencing. Tim is based in Baltimore, Tim Rohde, author of Changing Lanes. You'll meet him shortly. And Tim has been in the industry, almost maybe longer than me, I'm not sure, maybe. And we met almost 35 years ago, touring Australia, New Zealand and Singapore on the speaking circuit back then. Andrew has worked with me for 25 years and he's a tech guru. He's my partner, or our partner, in Affinity OS. Ben is many things. He's Chief Innovation Officer for Exercise New Zealand, but he's also a bit of a tech icon with web development and driving online traction. And you'll hear more about Ben and hear from him soon, hopefully. And then Ed Curtin is a project manager, he calls himself, which is sort of a version of the consultant, but without a lot of the baggage that comes with it. And Ed's based in China. He's got a phenomenal track record, and he's available for questions as well at the end. All right, so I'm going to share screen. I'm going to begin the conversation, and hopefully if you've got any questions, as I said, we can keep that towards the end. But here we go. Hopefully everybody can see that. Is that coming up, guys? You guys are on mute.
Yep, we can see it. Yep.
Okay, and you can see me okay?
Yes.
Lovely. Awesome. So, closing out 2024 on a high note, that's the premise of this virtual forum, and I'm going to talk about 6 tips, and they're going to be really quick hits. The first one is, what about a holiday newsletter? I know a newsletter is a lot of work. You don't have to do it every month. You don't have to do it every week. But what about a seasonal newsletter or an event? I've, in my clubs, hosted workshops, webinars, open house events towards the end of the year to position yourself well in the minds of the consumer as you're the expert, right? So you're the person that knows about fitness and wellness. Newsletters are an easy way to get out to your audience, but the webinars or the open houses or the workshops are ways to reach maybe a broader audience. These can be fun. They engage your community, and you can also partner with vendors on this. And I've actually underwritten some of these things with vendors, or even done it at other venues where we become the centerpiece as the club. So holiday newsletter or events, a good way to finish the year and position yourself well in the eyes of the community. Another one's gift cards and referral programs. Gift cards are a really powerful medium, and one thing about gift cards is there's a huge ROI on them. And if people buy a gift card for Christmas for their friends or their family members, it's a great Christmas gift. It introduces people to the club that might not normally try the club. You can even team this up with a referral bonus. So what if you, with the gift card, if somebody uses it for a membership, the person that gave the gift card gets some sort of bonus. One thing we've seen at Affinity OS is when you do a referral where both parties, both the referring person, the member, and the recipient, the new member, both get something, those referral programs work much better. Another one is our team. We often forget about, towards the end of the silly season, our team. And it's busy in the lead up to Christmas. People are ready for taking breaks. They're worn out after a big year. Maybe think about a little wellness retreat for your team. Maybe it's a day away. Maybe you can do some incentives for them to take care of themselves or to enter the holidays in a really positive spirit. I've done 4 teams that I've managed retreats in the past, and end of year is a good time to do that when things are quieting down in the club a little bit. So something to think about. That QR code there, or the QR codes there you see, Affinity OS has a self-care toolkit for team members, frontline team members, and also for you guys, for the leadership folks. So if you use one of those QR codes, it's free, there's no obligation, it's an opportunity to help your team or yourself to do more self-care. The next one is the idea of challenges at the end of the year. And this might seem challenging because if you think about it, it feels like everybody's tapering down. There's a lot of people that come into Christmas and they sort of roll their eyes. They're going, oh God, okay, I'm going to put on weight. I'm going to not exercise as much. And they want motivation. And so a 30-day challenge in December is not a bad thought. It wouldn't be 30 days of exercise. It might be complete 14 days of exercise through December or something like that, where it's not intimidating. 10 days, doesn't matter. But set realistic goals for folks with these sort of challenges. Ask them to bring a partner and let the partner be free. So the clubs at that time of year, December, typically a little quieter. So why not do a push where somebody can bring in a friend for free, and if they roll over to membership in January, they get some sort of maybe break on membership enrollment or whatever it is. But it's a great way to bring people into the club. And funnily enough, a lot of people are trying to hit the end of the year in reasonable shape, and it's a good time to do it. So something to think about. The second last one, sort of my number 2 tip, would be reflect and plan. And this is about strategic planning. And what I'm talking about here is to solidify your strategy before the holiday season runs you over for 2025. It's a good time to reflect on 2024. You might consider what new programs you might introduce next year. One of my key learning points around putting programs in is don't do it without a champion. Unless you've got somebody that absolutely is passionate about that program, it's going to be a tough slog. So look around your team, talk to your team, engage with your team. What can we do, guys? What would you like to do? Is there something you'd like to lead, an initiative or a new type of opportunity? Maybe explore hybrid models. Ed Curtin can talk a little bit about Sweat Pro. It's an online virtual system for classes, and that could be a good carry through during the holiday season when the club's not open as much as well. So think about what you've done well this year, close out 2024 on a high note, and plan for 2025. Maybe that could be part of your little wellness retreat where it's a combination of think tank and maybe some breathing and relaxation for your team. The last one is surveying your team. When I first went to the States, Andrew and I were involved in a large club group, or what became a large club group. We did an annual survey, and that was pretty informative. And back in those days, things weren't moving so quickly. It was hard to do a survey on a monthly basis or a daily basis at that point because of technology. And that survey was really powerful. Maybe you could run a Survey Monkey survey. Could be as simple as doing the Net Promoter question, which I'll talk about briefly, or it could also be an opportunity to ask a few more questions of your members and just see what they think about what you're doing and what opportunities there are to maybe improve what you're doing. I've talked a little bit about Affinity OS. That's the AI platform that Andrew, Yana, and I have built. And that platform surveys people daily. So it actually looks at people in real time. But if you don't have that system or a system like that, an annual survey is not a bad start. And I can talk to why there's a benefit to polling people more regularly, because an annual survey only tells you once a year what's going on. If you're doing it monthly, you're knowing on a monthly basis. If you're doing it daily, you really have a finger on the pulse, but I won't belabor that point. If you are going to ask one question with this survey, the best question you can ask is the NPS question, the Net Promoter question. That's how likely are you to recommend my club or your club to friends or family? Really easy, 0 to 10, 1 to 10. If they give you a 9 or a 10, you should send them a referral offer. And that's what we do at Affinity. If somebody's a 9 or 10, we drop them into the referral bucket and we send them an offer, or you send them an offer. So just to close out this point about real-time member surveys, obviously I'm a fan of that. It's why we built Affinity OS. We really believe that for continuous improvement, you need to be polling your members regularly, consistently, rhythmically, and in real time is truly the best way, the most effective way to do that. It drives retention because you're measuring and communicating with your teams. You're not just looking at a dashboard, you're looking at the sentiment behind it. What's driving their sentiment? And you can also leverage those promoters that I talked about to drive quality referrals. And promoters are the best form of referral you can get. All right, so that's my 6 tips. If you want to connect with me particularly, the QR code's there, all my details on the screen, take a screenshot. And as I said, we will roll 2 questions at the end. I've already got a couple there come through. But next I'm going to stop sharing my screen and welcome our next speaker, which is Mel Tempest. So let me do an intro to Mel. So Mel, I first came across at a conference, at a forum, symposium, and she stood up and she said what everybody was thinking. And she really called out some people in this industry that most people would never speak to in that way. And she didn't speak derogatorily. She wasn't negative. She was just saying, hey guys, what about this? And it was beautiful. And it was like, oh my goodness, I need to know this woman. And I'd already knew about Mel, and I'd heard about Mel, and I was in the States for 20 years. So I missed her rise to stardom. But I was just so pleased and proud to get to know her, and I was involved in her Ignite event in Melbourne this year, which was just terrific. So check that out. She's the founder of the Ignite Fitness Business events. She's also the host of the Gym Owners Fitness Business podcast. I'm reading that because I've got to get it right. And the Women's Leaders Fitness Business podcast. So check those podcasts out too. She's an industry expert without question. She's a much sought after speaker, but she's also a group exercise or group fitness program consultant and really good at that. But one of the things she does really well is innovate. And as a club owner, she's got suggestions and tips for how you can innovate. And I heard her speak a couple of weeks ago at Oz Fitness and just thought she was terrific. And so we invited Mel to come along and maybe share some of those tips with you today. So I'm just going to hand over to Mel here and mute myself. Hi, Mel.
Hi, Grant, and thank you very much for that awesome introduction. I love what I do and I love to share it. I believe in creating opportunity for people. If somebody hadn't given me an opportunity in December 1999 to teach a hydraulic circuit class, I wouldn't be with you all today. So let's get it all started. So as you heard, Grant heard me speak a couple of weeks ago, and it was all about creating secondary income for club owners. And a great time to do that is actually in the run up to Christmas, to Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day. because all of those events are important to people in the community. So I'm sort of known as the practical queen. I throw stuff in front of you that you go, oh my God, why didn't I know that? It's been in front of me all of this time. So what was really popular was my towel conversation. So I just threw it in there to fill in a gap. And I reckon for 2 hours afterwards, everybody was going, oh my God, the towel, the towel. So let me tell you about the towel. I became part of a franchise system about 6 years ago after being an independent as part of an exit strategy. And of course, when you're part of a franchise system, you are supposed to abide by, this is our color, you have to stick with it. So people only want to buy a certain amount of the same color towel. So against franchise religion, I went out and I purchased like 14 different colors, but not all at once. We got 6 colors. They came in pink, yellow, orange, red, purple, put them on display. Everybody came in and said, I want that color. I want that color. I don't have that color. That color ran out, being say the 4 to 6 colors. Then we got the next group of colors. Oh my God, I don't have the green. I don't have the yellow. I don't have the white. And so what happened was FOMO of the towels. Everybody wanted every color in their house. We purchased the towels at like $5, sold the towels at between $15 to $20. Didn't have an issue doing it whatsoever. They came to the counter, purchased a towel. Do you want a water bottle with that? Do you want one of our backpacks with that? We put them in there together, sold them, and then we created packs. Very easy to sell at the front desk, not only at Christmas time, Mother's, Father's Day, and at Easter time, but you can just sell when people are joining up, because again, it comes back to FOMO. I don't have that, you have that, I want that. If you've got a colored towel, you've got to coordinate it with a colored hoodie. So of course, we then branched out into all of these different hoodies. So of course, the ladies want the pink jacket, the guys want the black, the navy blue. Do know that research and data shows that men are more attractive to blue as opposed to black. So do look into that. So again, fear of missing out. Everybody wants the hoodie, long sleeve, zip. Hold on, the warmer weather's here. We need to get the short sleeve hoodies in. So you get the short sleeve hoodies in, you get the pullovers, you get them in the different colors. Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, we're creating baskets at the front counter. So there's always that fear of missing out, and people will spend. In Australia, if you don't have Afterpay in your club, you're crazy. People will Afterpay the hoodie, the towel, the water bottle. They will Afterpay the personal training sessions. So you can be buying vouchers via Afterpay. Great gift for under the Christmas tree. Of course, again, Mother's Day, Father's Day. Get Afterpay in your club so that people can buy fitness and wellness product to give as gifts. They never ever go astray. Think about the demographic that you're selling to. In the recent Australasian Leisure Management magazine, there's an article in there that breaks down the different age groups. It tells you what they're attracted to and what they will buy. I'll buy an 8-week membership. Do some targeting on your social media so that they buy 8-week memberships for their friends that are in the same age group that they're trying to drag into the gym. So understand who's in your club and who they're going to buy for, and then create that product through the front desk. Christmas time, you would have all heard the 12 days before Christmas. You heard Grant talk about the challenge. What about the 12 days before Christmas challenge? Husband and wife, gay people, families, attract them in to do 12 days of Christmas challenge. They love doing that type of stuff. Are you doing barbecues? Are you doing supplement testing nights? Again, bring those nights into your business and then have product for sale that your members are going to buy. Do you have infrared saunas? Are you selling 10 sauna sessions in the lead up to Christmas? Feel good, look good. I want to wear a sexy dress or a tank top on New Year's Eve. Wellness, infrared sauna, massage chairs. Get people to buy for themselves and to look out for themselves. offer those 10 packs on Afterpay and Zip Pay. So there's lots of things that you can be doing in your club that derives an income from the audience that's already out there. And then of course, and you have to do this, put it all over social media. We as club owners don't brag enough about what we do for our community. So sell what you're doing for your community out there on social media. But it all comes back to, at the end of the day, understand who comes to your club, understand who their friends are, and then upsell to them and make it affordable and give them the opportunity to be paying off the product that's in your club to sell. Don't be afraid to do mental health wellness packages. Don't be afraid to do weight loss packages. Don't be afraid to do PT packages. Throw it out there into the community. Throw it out there on social media. The vending machine. Oh my God. If you don't have a vending machine in your club, you're crazy. Now you might say, why? We only sell drinks and protein bars in our vending machine. Are you selling gym memberships in your vending machine? Are you selling towels in your membership, in your vending machine? No? Well, you should be, because when your staff aren't there and you're a 24/7 club and it's Joey's birthday tomorrow and you've forgotten to go and get Joey a present, you can buy them a pack of PT sessions or a gym membership via the vending machine. Then they can come into the club and then they can kickstart it. So there's so many different things that you can be doing as fitness business owners to derive an income. So don't think that you can't do any of these initiatives because you're not a big commercial club. You can do these initiatives small scale. You don't have to have oversized vending machines. You can have vending machines that just have 10 products in them. You can have fridges that have product in them. I mean, before we got a vending machine 6 or 7 years ago, we had a fridge that had towels and stuff like that in it. Yes, we had to lock it up at the end of the night, but guess what we were showcasing when we weren't there? Our product. So we should always be selling something even when our teams aren't there. And just to close it off, please educate your team. Please educate your team that when they're closing their classes, of these opportunities for the members, so that they do go to the front desk or they do approach the group fitness leader at the end of the class and say, hey, I didn't know I could do that. Can you tell me a little bit more? So perhaps run what we call Discovery Week, where we ask our trainers and our group fitness instructors to sell what's out the front, because at the same time, they're exposing themselves as a fitness professional within the club.
Wow, thank you, Mel. That's awesome. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've turned up to the gym, I've forgotten my socks, my headphones or something, and I see, and I have only seen this since talking to you or hearing you talk about this, but I see some clubs with vending machines now where you can get these commodities, but equally what you're talking about with the towels and things like that, the 24-hour members often miss out, and because there's no one there potentially when they come in, or maybe there's just skeleton crew.
And that's the reality of it, Grant. And you can be selling, earphones, you can be selling phone chargers from the vending machines.
Yep.
But we also need to remember, with the economy at the moment, that it's okay to offer your members Afterpay and Zip Pay. There's nothing wrong with doing it, because at the end of the day, they will make the decision whether they pay upfront or they pay the item off.
It's a great point, Mel, and I think, and we'll go to the next session in a second, but I want to reiterate what you're saying there. People spend a fortune on cosmetic treatments, on things that maybe we wouldn't endorse, right, and think are good. Why not invest in good things within our clubs that are going to help change their lives? So yeah, fair enough. All right, so I now get to introduce a very, very good friend of mine, Tim Rohde. And so Tim is the author of Changing Lanes, great book on change management, but I knew Tim long before he wrote that awesome book. He and I met on a plane flying to Singapore. We'd been at a series of conferences in Australia and New Zealand, and then we were flying to Singapore, and we became fast friends. We realized we lived in parallel universes. And Tim, I came over to the States, was invited by Tim and his partner to come and do some work with them. And that's how I ended up in the States, really, 20 some years ago, 25. And but Tim has owned and managed some of the most successful clubs on the East Coast of the US. He's worked in everything from the ski industry through to the energy industry. And he's always had a finger or a foot in the fitness industry, though, and I know that's one of his core passions. And I invited Tim along because he is so knowledgeable in the fitness industry, but he's really transcended, that vertical and expanded out far broader than that with his consulting. So I'm going to hand over to Tim, let him share screen. But I do want to say thank you to him for joining us from Baltimore, the US. It's 8 p.m. or probably 8:30 there now at night. So thank you. I'll hand over to you, Tim.
My pleasure. Listen, thank you so much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here with every one of you. And when Grant called, he wanted to know if I could contribute anything on the notion of how to succeed with change or how to manage change, which has been a focus of mine for the last 2 to 3 years. So I put together a few quick slides for you, if I can share my screen here. And can everybody see that okay? Is that a yes? Great. Well, it's an interesting topic on how to succeed with things by the end of the year, and when Grant shared with it, even into next year. And what I want to share with you all today is maybe a new perspective. It's the idea here is to start with a thought. I want you to focus on something that you'd like to improve. So I'm going to take you through just a quick exercise, but if you could improve one thing with your business between now and the end of the year, or maybe even the next year, what would that be? Maybe you've got something in mind. And while I don't know, I'm not clairvoyant, I don't know what each of you have in mind that you'd like to change. I do know that one thing that they all have in common is that they all require change. And maybe more specifically, they all require you to lead some sort of change. In fact, when you stop and think about it, all progress requires change. So regardless of where you are now, to get to where you want to be with a system, a process, your revenue, your team, whatever the case is, you're going to need to lead change. The only problem with that is that people think that change is hard. And if you need some evidence of that, I think McKinsey, Forbes, and Harvard Business Review have each cited that more than 70% of change efforts in business will struggle or fail, which is a pretty awful statistic. But when you look at it another way, and this is the perspective that I'd like to share with you tonight, change doesn't have to be hard. It can even be fun when you've got a simple approach or a framework like the one that I'm going to share with you next. So what I've worked on, and what's shown in the book that Grant was kind enough to hold up a few times, is it's an approach that has just 4 simple steps: decide, look, signal, and change. I've spent most of my career trying to take complicated things and make them simple so that they work better and they're easier to use. And I take this approach and call it changing lanes for 2 reasons. First is that it follows the same simple steps that you already use when driving. So it's something you and others already know. But second of all, it's not just a method, it's a mindset. Because people only change lanes to do better. If you think about it, no one changes lanes to do worse, right? And so half the battle in getting people to adopt change, embrace change, or implement change, or even consider change, is to automatically connect it with doing better. And so this approach kind of subliminally gets you at least halfway there. So the good news is that it's easy to learn and it's easy to do. And we don't have enough time in this session tonight to go in depth, but I want to share just a little bit, give you a glimpse or a drive by each of the 4 simple steps that you can use to succeed, to make rapid progress. Now, I've got a link with resources for each of you at the end, so you don't have to try to write anything down. And there's also a link in there to a strategy call. If anybody's got an important goal or a change that they want to accomplish by the end of the year or even in the next year, feel free to ring me up and I'm happy to visit with you about that. So the first step is decide to change. And you might go, well, duh, decide to change, right? But believe it or not deciding to change is one of the 2 biggest reasons why change efforts struggle or fail in business. Usually it's the lack of decision is caused by uncertainty, maybe lack of confidence, or even short-sightedness. People don't see something coming. More often than not, it's that they're just uncertain, and so they waffle and they won't make a commitment or they won't make the decision. But the decision to change is the foundation for everything that's to follow. Now, in this session, in the decide to change section of the changing lanes approach, there's just 4 questions that lead to clarity and conviction. And they're, where are you now? Where would you rather be? What obstacles are you facing? Basically, what's hindering your progress? And then how to best get there. And really, they're just designed to kind of contradict the uncertainty or the lack of clarity that people normally are wrestling with. And again, these are all in the resources as a worksheet that you can download and use and save and reuse as much as you want. So it just gives you a chance to kind of reckon with yourself or maybe with others on your team and come up with good answers to these questions. And the goal here is not to commit yet, just to decide. So if you're thinking about driving, the first step to doing better when you're driving is deciding to get out of the lane you're in. And a lot of times people just don't do that. And it's the same thing in business. Step number 2 is to look for opportunities and risks. And you want to ask yourself a few questions here as well. So what are some alternative solutions? How much change is it going to take just to make progress or to achieve the whole goal? What are some of the risks and your blind spots? Again, there's questions and checklists in the Changing Lanes worksheet, the Leading Successful Change worksheet at the end, that has these questions for you that you can fill them in and query yourself and query your team. And finally, what's the ideal timing? Should you go now? Should you go later? Right? Step 3 is to signal the change. Now, it's really easy to blame issues and problems on circumstances or other people or other things, but every problem, and I found this myself, is tied to, has its roots in communication, in poor communication. So in the case of leading change, we can't really control others' communication, but we can control our own. And when we do a great job with that, we're not causing problems, we're actually avoiding them. We're actually, if you think about it, if you're a great communicator, you're causing success. So are you the kind of leader who causes problems or causes success with your communication? Are you a troublemaker or a success maker? I use this when I talk with groups and leaders, and usually gets a few laughs, but in the end, they have to look at it and realize that the root of every problem is in poor communication. Now, in this particular step, there's actually a communication checklist with 3 types of questions. There's who questions, how questions, and when questions. So the who questions are like, whose permission will you need, if any? Like, if you're in charge, maybe you don't need somebody's permission, but maybe you do. Maybe you need to get a permit or a bank loan or something like that. Whose help will you need? Who could hinder or hold things up? And then who else should be advised? Once you get your list of who you want to communicate with to succeed with this change, the next question is how? What's the best way? One-on-one, face-to-face? Can you do it in a team meeting? Can you send them an email? What about a video message? And so you just do a little bit of thinking in advance, and it keeps you from those oops or gotchas. I mean, we all know people that if they don't find out first about something, you're in the doghouse, right? Or the change is going to struggle. So this helps you get that straight right from the start. And finally, when should you start to signal? Some people you want to talk with way early so they can help you figure it out. And other people you don't want to let know until it's just in time because you don't want to give them an opportunity to stop or hold you up. Finally, step number 4 is to actually make the change. And then you think to yourself, well, why would I come this far and not actually make the change? Well, this is one of the 2 biggest reasons why change efforts struggle or fail in business. It's poor implementation, poor execution. The change either gets off to a weak start, or there's no plan or no intention, no follow through to finish for a host of reasons. So in this step, we ask 3 questions and we have you plan the start, plan the finish, and then actually make plans to sustain the new course and pace towards your goal. I don't know if any of you have ever had an experience where you've implemented a change only to fall back or fail back to a level no better than you were before. So this has you think in advance, how do we take that ground? How do we accelerate and stay there? To complement this, here's a quote from Grant Cardone, who said that a majority of the problems we face in our lives come from not taking enough action. And it's absolutely true. I've seen this over and over again. When people are spooked by circumstances or lacking confidence, leaders will hesitate or fail to act. When people are surprised by unforeseen challenges, they tend to stall or struggle. And if they don't have a reliable plan to start and finish their change, it can lose momentum and get swept away in the day-to-day challenges of business and leadership. Finally, some people might have a short attention span and they lack the commitment to finish before actually starting to the next thing. So each of these situations causes problems, and each one is resolved by what we've already looked at in steps 1 through 3. So to wrap it up, I would say that leading productive change is the most valuable skill in the market today. If you think about it, if all progress requires change, as a leader, what are you there for? You're there to make progress, right? So if you can be skilled or gifted or talented at leading successful change, you are going to be incredibly valuable. And the operative terms here are leading and productive, not coping, putting up with, bungling, or avoiding, and not unproductive, costly, or ineffective. So the question is, how can you lead successful change? So here's a link with some more resources. You can snapshot that QR code. There's a host of things on that page. You can get the worksheet yourself. There's a link to the book. There's actually a link to another resource on there, and that's how to overcome resistance to change, how to avoid it or overcome resistance to change, and a link there to the web page. So I'm happy to unshare my screen and field any questions anybody might have.
Tim, thank you. That was phenomenal. Can everybody see me okay? Have we moved? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, and look, I've read the book, and I've also worked with you, so I know that you've managed to this. I know you've refined your process over the years, and I love it. I love the simplicity of it. But as with many things, we try and do these things that we hear about, and we get some of it right, we get a lot of it right. But the reason that AWA exists is really to bring expertise like yours, like Tim's forward, Mel's, Ed, Andrew, Pele, Ben, Yana, all this group is an amazing group of people. And I spoke about this at Exercise New Zealand yesterday at the Academy, and I was saying, look, consultants aren't a lifetime deal, right? You don't have to get in bed with them forever. They're often very much a tool you use when you've got to exact some change or implement something new, or you're heading into unknown territory. And so engaging with experts that really know what they're talking about will accelerate the things that you're trying to achieve, and change sort of really threads through most of all of that. So I know Tim would welcome it if you reached out and you had questions or want to do a consult with him. Equally, everybody on this panel is in the same boat. They're available to talk to you about your business and about what you do. I've got a bunch of questions. What I am going to do though, there's a couple of questions here for people that haven't spoken. So I'm going to actually seed those first. Depending on how we go for time, we've got a hard stop at 11 in respect for everybody's time. And I hope we get time to field some of those questions that were asked of Tim and Mel and myself. But I'm going to open with a question for Andrew, because it's related to what I was talking about, and it's implementing a gift card program. And I know that we've done that, and you've done that, and you have expertise in that area. So this question's for you, Andrew. If you're going to implement gift card program, what are your suggestions and recommendations on how to do that efficiently? Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for calling me first. That's much appreciated. Implementing a gift card program can, it can be something that's obvious if you're already doing it, or it could be something daunting if you've never done it before. Most businesses have done everything from having paper gift cards they hand out to people to having a member management system with the built-in gift card process. I think if you're generally using one of the big companies that are providing member management, whether it's a Mind Body, a Gym Master, Perfect Gym, the benefit there is that probably gift cards are built in. These days, a lot of clubs are also running their software through something like Square on a mobile device. And those also, fortunately, have great gift card tools built in. I think Mel had a really interesting idea that, perked my ears when she said, put them in the vending machine, which I thought that was really cool. But again, you've got to now have a method for preloading these cards and putting them out there. And again, the point is, do you use technology for that, or can you do that on your own? But either way, I think that something you mentioned, which is tricky as well, is having a system for tracking potentially when that card is purchased, or whether that card's part of a reward, is utilizing or leveraging that ability to give something to the card giver, right? I think that was a really cool idea. And you're right, we've seen a lot more buy-in and usage of those cards and opportunities when both people are getting something out of that. So it certainly would be maybe in Mel's scenario, if the gift card was for a membership for your friend and you were buying them some portion of a year or a year's worth of membership, get something for yourself at the same time that you can spend in the club. So again, going back to more of what the implementation process is, obviously first define what the program is going to look like. And we've kind of talked about that a little bit in this conversation. It's really important. If you're going to add a program, it's got to have buy-in from your team so they understand how to use it. And then you've also got to be able to share that, communicate it simply with your customers. So how is that gift card going to work? Is it going to expire? Is it going to hold its value? Things like that. What can it be exchanged for? But then, most importantly is make sure you have the technology to implement it. And that's something that we can help with. If you're concerned with that or not sure how to implement it, I think this group would be more than happy to step up and fill in there.
Thanks, Andrew. That's great. And we found that, sadly, some proportion of gift cards don't get used, and so that can be classified as found money. Depends on how you account for it, though. It can also be a liability on your balance sheet, but not to get all technical. There's one here that I think's a good one for Ed, and so Ed's a project manager and innovation specialist. The question here was, with technology transforming the fitness industry, what innovations should fitness businesses adopt now to maximize operational efficiency and member engagement before 2024 closes? Ed, are you good to give a couple of minutes on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it ties in with where I'm putting a lot of my energy at the moment. I've been living and working in Asia, and in particular China, for the most of the last 20 years, I guess. And what I've seen is an absolute exponential development of speed in technology integration into the fitness and wellness industry. And there's actually 3 tips I wanted to share today. One of them was about the innovation and technology integration. And I think in particular, towards the end of the year, it's difficult to find coaches and instructors to come and teach classes, and staff are, planning their holidays and so on. So I think it's a good idea to have a backup plan that can cover classes and make sure that the experience for members that are still coming to your club during the holiday season is as good or even better than the rest of the year. So I represent Sweat Pro. So Sweat Pro is a virtual on-demand fitness classes. One of the best one of the greatest benefits of virtual classes is that you can experiment with different types of classes that you wouldn't normally be having in your club. You can try some piloxing, or something that's a little bit out there that you're not quite sure. Should I get an instructor for this type of class, or should I trial it out first virtually and see if you get traction and see what the feedback is. So certainly technology integration, virtual on demand. There's obviously a lot of other technology with regards to smartwatches, check-in procedures for with smartphones and QR codes, payment systems and things like that as well, which I have seen and helped to implement over the last few years as well. And then I guess while I'm here, the other two things I wanted to mention was planning ahead. A few weeks ago was International Mental Health Day. For business owners that are watching this stream, did you plan ahead for that? Or did you realize on the day, oh, it's International Mental Health Day today, should we do something? And I think, if you look at the fashion industry buys clothing for the season that's ahead. So in the middle of the very, very hot summer, the buyers are buying winter clothing to stock into the shops. And likewise, many years ago, I visited the Australian Air Force Base in Victoria. And something I learned there, that they said that the technology with fighter jets, they're actually developing fighter jets now with technology that they do not even know exists yet, if you know what I mean. It's like having a motherboard where you're using 2 or 3 of the slots, but there's another 15 slots there available for future technology that does not yet exist. And I think in our industry, one of the funny things, I guess, I saw an article yesterday talking about the trends that are coming for 2025. So I wrote a little article about it. I said, the trends that I'm seeing now are really the same recycled ideas over and over for many, many years. And what I would like to see, and I think one of the reasons why we're all gathering together, is to think more as an industry rather than as an individual, and to be more innovative and think about what is possible in the future, not just what are we able to do now. So I would like to see more innovation and more crazy ideas being tabled for discussion, to think, is this something that could work in our industry? Because you know what, it probably can, and there's probably resources that already exist to help us to be able to do it as well. So thank you.
It's great. And it's a really good thought, because one of the things I've struggled with over the years is innovation's hard, and people, like Tim alluded to, change is seen as confronting. But we are pretty stuck in many ways as an industry, and we're stuck in sort of our sales model, of closeouts and such. We're stuck in a lot of our marketing, we're mired in what we do that works, but it's costing more and more and more. And as Mel said, social is absolutely critical, but organic social just doesn't work like it used to, because all the providers are out there with their hands out saying, give me some money. So I think we need to be more innovative, and we also need to work together. And to your point, that's the whole idea of this. That's maybe a good lead in to Ben, because Ben is an innovator. He's chief of innovation at Exercise New Zealand, but he's also got his own businesses. And there's a question here about adaptation and marketing and thoughts to finish the year strong. But I'm sort of tagging this onto the back of Ed's comment. Ben, what are your thoughts for the future of the fitness industry and some of the innovation that's coming through, or some of the ways we might do things differently? Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's never been more important to be adaptable in today's market. There's so many different offerings out there, but I think it's quite easy to get blind and confused by what things are going to work in my club, because it does have to be a custom approach to who my target market is for my club, who are the current members, are my current members the ones who I'm also targeting. And I think it's almost a time where we need to revisit what are those personas, because how many business owners that open clubs, they're doing it a year before they open up a club, but so much has changed, and I feel like there needs to be this revisiting of almost that business and content strategy here. I think it's important to embrace, the different technologies out there and the way people are exercising. But, one bit of consumer research we've done with Exercise New Zealand this year, and it's been quite consistent in the last couple of years, is the reason why people are exercising has just become drastically different as it once was 5-10 years ago. It used to be so much about the aesthetics, the looks, losing weight, building muscle, when now number 1 and 2 in New Zealand is health and mental health. And I think the service offerings has to embrace this, because it is super important in New Zealand. I know it is in other countries as well. And a big part, I think another important thing as well is just understanding your members better. And the tool you have, Grant, Affinity OS, we use that with the Exercise New Zealand. And I think when I was first learning about this platform, I was just like, wow, I wish I had this back in my club manager days. If only I could better engage with my members and understand what they need, I can actually customize my offerings based on who I actually have in my club. And I think it's super important to deliver tailored approaches. I don't think we need to necessarily do everything, embrace everything that's out there, but I think we need to understand our members better. And I think, surveying our members and understanding this creates a lot of future opportunities.
Ben, you hit so many points there. Like, I could probably talk to that bounce off that for 20 minutes, but I want to bring up a couple of points that you raised. What you discovered through Exercise New Zealand about what people are looking for, it has changed significantly. People are truly looking for health, mental health, wellness, and so the body beautiful is sort of fading. And you also talked about personas. Who are we attracting, and are we still trying to go after the same people, or has our market changed, or have we changed? Or should we change? I talk a lot about the interested, deconditioned, or the uninitiated believer, and they're the people you're talking about. They're the people that want to change their health, they want to improve their mental well-being, but they're a little intimidated typically by clubs. And if we know that we want to go after those people, if that persona is clear, if we've got avatars that are not what our branding suggests it should be, and our images are projecting, powerful opportunity to expand your market significantly, because both in America or the US, in Australia, New Zealand, and I'm guessing it's global, we're still seeing less than 20% of the market come to health clubs on a regular basis, regular enough to make a difference. And so there's still 60+% of the market that wants to do something, and there's a tremendous opportunity there. And also you referenced Affinity OS, you're right. Look, you really need to understand your members well. Now, if you're in your club, like Mel has one club, she's in that club, she lives and breathes her members, and she's interacting with them all the time and getting feedback from them all the time. Maybe Affinity OS isn't necessarily what she needs, but what are the members saying at 2 a.m. in the morning? Well, they're not talking to a staff member, and we find that, and we've found those nuggets come up where the early open is opening 3 minutes past every day, and the club owner didn't know, and they're frustrated. And we have implemented simple things like do the Disney thing, open 5 minutes early, blow them out, wow them every day. So there's simple solutions to that, but Ben, there's just so much more to talk about there. I definitely want you to head up one of the forums coming forward, so thank you. I'm going to bleed that into a question for Jana, because just in terms of marketing, because we're talking a little bit about what we put out there in the marketplace. Jana, could you maybe share and this is a question that I've got, so it wasn't seeded by anybody, but what are 2 of the things in branding and creative that clubs should do less of? What are a couple of things that they should do more of? What are your thoughts for 2025?
A couple of things they could do less of certainly is always make sure that their imaging is not intimidating. That is the number 1 trap that a lot of club owners fall into. So do away with that. Show as many real people, show your real members, tell real stories, show the community that is within your wall, because really at the end of the day, that's what people need the most. Ben mentioned mental health. Community is probably the number 1 antidote to mental health issues. It is connection. We have lost connection to ourselves. We've lost connection to nature. How much time do we spend outside? We've lost connection to each other, and the mental health issues are reflecting that. So really know what your membership base is struggling with, what they're looking for. Again, communicating, finding out the surveys in real time, ideally. But yeah, just really find out what it is that they're looking for and give them those answers. But really show show the community within your facilities. Show the champions, the people that work within your clubs. I'm sure you have instructors and coaches who are super motivational and people just love. Just showcase that. That is really what people are seeking, is that connection to people who understand what you're looking for and what you need.
Yeah, terrific. It's so true, and social proof is a big thing too, and that comes through with people talking about their experiences, and also fitness professionals talking about what they do and sharing their passion. You get Mel Tempest out there talking about why she does what she does, right? And it's like, oh wow, I want some of that. And we've got lots of people within our clubs. Everybody in this group is in a similar boat. I've got one more question, because we're going to wrap up on the dot of 11, hopefully, and it's for Pele. He's the only person who hasn't spoken today, but the question was really more around, and it came from someone else, but it was about, as a fitness professional, how should I or how should our club differentiate our offerings in a crowded market? And it is a crowded market. There's a lot of similarities in clubs. And one of the things Pele's done very well is lead culture and lead the essence that comes from within the club. But demonstrating that's hard. Pele, what are any of your thoughts about differentiating your offerings out in the marketplace?
Well, thank you, Grant. Firstly, I just wanted to echo, it's such a privilege to hear such great speakers. So really, to Grant, to yourself, to Mel, in terms of, and to Tim, thank you so much for giving us such a great insight into the Affinity Wellness community. As everyone was speaking, it's a bit of an aha moment for me, because for the last 25 years, I'm sitting on the other end of the desk, where for 25 years, this is my first year, I'm not formally managing a budget of achieving 10,000 new joiners a month, which, and it might be a good thing or a bad thing, but I do miss the addiction of, and I call it an addiction, a good addiction of working with a team to create culture. And you can see that oozes out of Mel, because in terms of what, when you love what you do, you won't work a day. But I was told by Victor Brick many years ago, you just got to decide which 12 hours of the day you got to work. So it's to your point, Grant, I think we are living in a very cluttered market. But having said that, I think every speaker has spoken so well about the unique selling proposition of a brand. Yana, as our marketing guru, life has taught me, number one, people first, and which is the mantra of Affinity. And Jim Collins speaks of good to great. It's about our people. First and foremost, we saw a declining trend in pricing, and the slide to the lowest price point for quite a while in Australia. And I was part of different brands, and you and I, Grant, played a very significant part in a brand that sort of went on the opposite end to look at how do we create a premium product where people would pay $180 a week in Australia for a membership, averagely $720 a month. And it came back to, firstly, do we have the right people? Do we have the right culture? Because culture will eat strategy for breakfast every day of the month. And people create the culture. I get excited, and I'll slow down, and I'll have to check out in 60 seconds. But I think the unique selling proposition is that we got to go back to basics. And there's people on this call and on the panel, and really well done. I want to celebrate to those that have got on this call from different parts of the world as operators, as individual leaders. The fact is that we've got great talent in our community, in the industry. How do we draw from each other intergenerationally? I love Ben's technology, because I'm right now immersed in this whole technological space, because Grant, so your USP is firstly your people, absolutely your product. Look at your promotion. And then I call culture your play. What is your play? Because we know that it's all about creating a people-centric, exciting, a community that cares for people. And if you can actually look at your strategy, your marketing strategy, your skills training strategy, our good friend Dr. J and myself go back many years, and we bring it back to the fact that, we use that term in the industry, you got to slow down to speed up. So as we slow down, we got to think with the mindset, how do we speed up for 2025? And Yana is right. So how do we differentiate our brand in the marketing space? Are we technologically targeting the demographic that really makes up the maximum base of our club? I know that we sometimes want to be all things to all people, but the reality is that if you know your community, if you know your members, you have a strategy, that your team are all on the same wavelength as yourself, you can achieve the impossible. And Mel, I want to say I love the strategy around secondary revenue as we head into this time of the year. And I just wanted to add it from a sales mindset of sales. How do we take that out to the marketplace? That 14-day challenge, the 30-day challenge, the 12 days of fitness, how do we actually take it out to non-participants outside our club? And that could be through a digital strategy to introduce them into a health and fitness lifestyle that creates a wellness community. So I'll stop there, Grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Pele. That was a bundle too. So maybe we can unpack some of that in our next one. I want to wrap up. There's a few apologies for today. Dr. J, Steve Jensen, could not join us. He has SAC, which is a sales academy, which he runs. So he's with Impact Training, and Steve does a terrific job in sales training. He's been around as long as I have in the industry, and is a real icon. And he will join us next time, no doubt. Richard Tatangi also made his apologies. Richard runs comm marketing, does a phenomenal job for a lot of clubs across Asia Pacific, and he was apologetic he couldn't be here, as well as Beck Millwood, who is a recruiter and in the HR space. She's got an initiative where she's actually taken on her own club, so she's back in the trenches again, but she apologized as well. So that's the AWA team. AffinityWellnessAlliance.com. You can see it on the screen. I am just absolutely delighted with today, and I'm sorry I'm going a couple minutes over, but everybody that spoke had such, I felt, wisdom to bring to the table, and I feel very blessed. I feel very appreciative and grateful for everybody that was here today, for those that missed it, and we will use this content over ensuing months to get some of those pearls of wisdom out. So thank you, everybody.